Hello, my name's Sammy Turton, aka 4-String Boy, and I'm here with Flight Ukulele again to talk about Tremolo Fingerstyle. This is lesson number 2, where we're going to be talking about how to train our thumb to alternate between the strings. Right, so hopefully you caught up on lesson 1. If not, what are you doing here? Go and watch that video. Now, 50% of tremolo is all about our thumb, so it's really important that we get this trained. Now, I'm going to talk about 2 patterns today. One that's in 3/4 time signature, so it just means we count 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then we're also going to play one in standard 4/4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's just to get your thumb used to these different patterns. So let's have a talk about, first of all, our pattern in 3/4. So what I'd like us to do is put a C chord together. And what I'd like you to do is we're going to count quarter notes. We're going to count 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And I'd like you to pluck the 3rd string. Then I'd like you to pluck the 2nd string. And then I'd like you to pluck the 4th string. So they're all open on the C, which is very kind. And that will be counted as 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So we're just getting our thumb used to that motion first. Okay, so I'd try that as basically 2 bars and then stop. So count yourself in. So you'd count 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, stop. Now it's also important to be able to count as 8th notes, so every and, I will say, you don't play anything. So you go 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. You're basically just playing your thumb on the numbers 1, 2, 3. Okay, so what we want to do now, hopefully our thumb is like, yeah mate, I understand this. We're going to start on every single and, we're going to pluck the 1st string with our index finger only. So it sort of feels like you go thumb, index, thumb, index, thumb, index. 1 and 1 and 1 and 1 and. So we have that motion. But we will go 3rd string, 2nd string, 4th string. Always plucking the 1st string with your index finger. So we go 1 and 2 and 3 and that would be our bar completed. So let's try that again and get that pattern for 2 whole bars, okay? So I'll count us in. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. Okay, so what I recommend is trying that for a couple of times. Have a breather, see how that goes. You can play this along to your metronome again if you want, but we're actually, to start with, we're going to give some more chords so we can play it as a little piece. So, in this piece, we will need a C major chord. I advise playing that with your ring finger, because then you can play a C major 7 with your middle finger, just that 2nd fret on the 1st string, which leads us to a C7, which is the 1st fret on the A string with your index finger. And the next chord we're going to play is an F add 9. If you've never played an F add 9 before, it's a regular F, but you just get rid of your middle finger. So it's only the 1st fret on the 2nd string, and let's play the index finger. It's called an F add 9. Very, very easy variation of an F chord you can play. And it has a longer name, so it must be more important, right? From here, we're going to play G7. So you keep your index finger down, and then it's 2nd fret, 3rd string, and 2nd fret, 1st string, with your middle and your ring finger. And that's your G7. So again, those chords, we play a C major 7, a C7, an F add 9, a G7. And that will be our pattern. So what we're actually going to do is we will play our little bar there twice per chord. So we'll go, if I start on a C, we'd end up going 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and then I'd move to my next chord, the C major 7, 1 and 2 and 3 my C7, and then to my F add 9, G7, and that's designed so you can loop it around and around if you like, but you can also call it quits there if you like. Okay, right. That is our little pattern going on, and that's in 3/4. Okay. So again, I'd recommend playing this to a metronome. So if I grabbed my metronome, again, if I talk about it in quarter notes, so it's easier. So if you don't have a metronome, just type the word metronome into Google, and it literally gives you one straight there. If not, the metronome I use is Soundbrenner. That's the app. He's the one I enjoy the most. Okay, and so what we're going to do is we're going to play this. I'm going to put 120 BPM. No, I'm not. I'm going to go 100 BPM. Cool. So I'm going to go 100. And that's 1 and 2. No, sorry. That's 1 and 2 and 3 and. That's how we count it. We count it as eighth notes. So technically it's 50 BPM in eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. That's what tempo that is. I'd make your way through all your chords at that tempo. If you've done that a couple of times and you're happy, we then add 20 BPM. So we go to 120. And again, if you've got a fancy metronome that you can select it to eighth notes, this is now 60 BPM technically. So I'd still do the same. I'd count myself in. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3. G7. And you can stop it there. So, last time I talked about effective metronome practice, okay? Basically, that just means that I would continue until I hit breaking point. Again, if you're working with quarter note count, you have to add 20. So my next jump after 120 would be 140. If you've got a clever metronome, you can change the count to eighth notes. Then basically that's 70 and you jump up in tens to 80 BPM. Say if my breaking point was 200 BPM, okay, or that's 100 BPM at eighth notes, then I would quit, and then tomorrow, always tomorrow, I would basically start one jump less. So for example, in quarter notes, it'd be 180 BPM. I'd start out with a metronome and then try and push past. And you probably find that you will be able to push past that 200. You might hit 220, but then you quit. Then the next day, you start at the next lowest jump, which would be 200. And that's how you progress quickly. Hooray! And it just basically, it gives your practice a purpose and it gets you quicker, faster. And that's what we all want at the end of the day, isn't it? Okay, so that pattern that we talked about was in 3/4. 1 and 2 and 3 and. But it also works in 4/4. We just have to add an extra thumb stroke. So we played third string, second string, fourth string, and that was the end of our bar. So if we've got 4 beats, I need one more thumb pluck, and we're going to go back to the second string. So we're going to pluck 3, 2, 4, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. And again, in my eighth notes, that'd be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So, let's try that with our little pattern then, shall we? We're still going to play 2 bars per chord, but this time we're just in 4/4. So let's try that. Okay, I'll put my metronome on as well. Okay, this is 120 BPM. So that's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3 and 4 and. This C major 7. C7. F add 9. finally G7. And there we have it. So again, you can practice this. If you really despise metronomes, you don't have to use one. There is no law that says you need to use a metronome. It's just they are very good at reminding you where your breaking point was and helping you get past that with actual numbers, rather than you just thinking, I will go a little bit faster, but your little bit faster might be 30 or 40 BPM, which is breaking point for your hands. Your hands can't jump that quickly. So it's good to rely on a metronome to tell you how fast to go or how fast not to go. Okay, fantastic. So continue these exercises along with the ones from lesson 1. And the next video is where we're going to put these two ideas together. Thank you again for listening to me so much. Have a great week. Practice hard. Goodbye.